episode of the Barkada Podcast. We are here today with Mr. Leif Larson. It's Friday, February 25th, 2022. And I think this is episode 30, man.
Nice.
Numero 30. Numero 30.
I like that.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Marlo.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So let's go back way when. I was even trying to think this morning about how, we first met.
Yeah.
I want to say it was through the music scene because you like to go out and check out bands and stuff around in the area, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. You had a lot of mutual friends and stuff playing and just kind of hanging out at the same scene and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. And then, of course, upstairs in your Algoma room, there was always kind of it was like the central hub, I think, too, for a lot of, like, shows and things, too.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think there was several moments there where just, hanging out and doing events and things and all sorts of that.
Shenanigans.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's been a little while ago because, even before, we first opened up the restaurant, like I'd known that you were an artist and you did your thing here. And
it's been a while now. I've had some reflections as of late about that. Just, it's going on. I came to town and got my studio going 2004.
Okay.
So it's been a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you go back a little bit? So you're not originally from Oshkosh? Like, where are you from?
No. Well, I was born in Milwaukee, technically, but didn't really live there consciously. My parents moved to Appleton when I was about 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And spent my childhood and my high school years there in Appleton. And then went to the University of... Well, actually, I went to Indiana State University. I got a scholarship to play baseball.
No kidding.
And art. Double scholarship. And only was there about 2 months.
Yeah.
Broke my back.
Oh, no.
And then just called my dad up on the phone and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to come back home and figure out something else. And I want to focus on something else. And so came to Oshkosh, and that would have been about 2000.
Okay.
So it's been about 22 years since that occurred, of course. And it was the winter as well. So, about 22 years. And just started making a go of it, I went to school here and got my degree.
Uh-huh.
And graduated in the fall semester of 2005. Mm-hmm. And despite what my professors wanted me to do, which was go become a professor, I said, I'm too much of a rebel. And I'm going to just go ahead and do it myself and figure it out. So that's what I've been doing ever since, and so far so good.
Nice, man. I never knew that you played ball.
I love sports.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that about me. I enjoy watching football. I enjoy baseball, and I enjoy golf.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what were your primary positions and stuff when you were playing baseball?
I was a pitcher.
Okay.
Yeah, left-handed pitcher.
Ooh,
and,
okay, there it is.
Yep. My father always loved Sandy Koufax, who's one of the greats of all time, and I used to pitch with him in the backyard, and he taught me everything I knew, as a young kid. And then by the time I was 12, I was arguably one of the better pitchers in the city at Little League level.
Sure.
And I know it sounds a little like I'm a little full of myself, but we were really good, and I, was on the All-Star team and was the ace of the All-Star team. So I guess it all kind of goes without saying. We went to state that year, and I was always very competitive and loved the game, and was very good at hitting too, and just all the positions. I just loved it. I love studying the game, and I've always been that kind of person. And as I moved up to high school level, I was playing at Appleton North with Coach Erickson, who was considered one of the toughest and fiercest coaches in the state at the time. I don't think he coaches anymore. His son coaches the Timber Rattlers now, actually.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I was always on his good graces too, because I just worked very hard and loved it. So baseball was my thing, and I had a naturally tailing fastball. So it had this kind of slider element to it.
That was your pitch, or?
That was my pitch.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just kind of a natural gift. Mm-hmm. I just would throw the ball kind of 3/4 like that, and the ball would naturally kind of glide down and just dip a little bit, and the hitters would always hit ground balls. It was kind of Greg Maddoxy.
Sure.
You know, he used to have that, and Tom Glavine from the Braves back in the 90s. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I loved it, but I pretty much put a cap on playing like hardball at that level when I was about 21, 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neat, man. Are your kids into anything like that right now? Or how old are they?
My son is 12. My daughter is 9.
Okay.
And they're my son is getting into football.
Okay.
It's been a big discovery for him, you know. So he's really getting into it, and he doesn't play it really yet or anything. And I don't know that I'm supporting him playing it.
Sure.
It's that weird conundrum we're all in as parents, you know. Like
right.
I love the game, but you know I know that there's a lot of research about the head trauma and all that kind of stuff, and so I'm torn. You know, I see it benefiting him though, and as far as his just. I don't know, his confidence, and he's really getting into it, you know.
You learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
When you go through those kind of, organized sports and stuff like that, and then not to mention like the people that you meet along the way in terms of coaches and just putting yourselves in those situations too to overcome and achieve your goals, right? So
absolutely. Like the life lessons that I learned from sports, they still are with me every day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I think as a parent, I see that opportunity in front of my kids. But it's tough, you know, I don't want to force anything on them, but I feel like, you know, the natural tendencies have, the gravitation to certain things have started to occur with him. And so I'm embracing it as best I can.
Yeah. So growing up, like what was your baseball team, major league team that you followed?
Well, as I mentioned before, I did like the Braves because I was a pitcher, so I wanted to watch good pitching.
Yeah.
And the Braves for, you know, so many years in the 90s just dominated with Smoltz, you know, Glavine and Maddox.
Yeah, that's some stats for sure.
Yeah, those three guys just were so good. I was always a fan of just kind of the playoff baseball. Of course, you knew you were going to get the cream of the crop, you know, the best pitchers facing off. So I always enjoyed that. And so it was more of like a context of give me a good game with two really great pitchers and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about this the other day too. Well, not the other day, but yeah.
Yeah, sometime.
Sometime. But you look at, you know, how many Cubs fans were around here. It was because WGN had all their games on.
Yes.
Was TBS was like that for
the Braves.
For the Braves,
That's
right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
That might have had something to do with it as
Maybe.
well, and just as a coincidence that they ended up having the pitching too. But yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now I can't even keep track of all the networks and stuff that are out there that are home bases to all these regional teams and stuff, you know. So yeah.
Speaking of the Cubs, my grandfather was a big Cubs fan.
Yeah.
He loved the Cubs. He lived up here, and you know he made sure everyone knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just the last episode we did on Wednesday, we were talking about, you know, baseball a little bit. And, you know, for me, I really didn't know too much about it. And I fell on the bandwagon with, like, the Yankees and stuff and, like, New York. I'm like, oh, I got to get my New York hat and all that kind of stuff. And then, but it's cool, like, you know, now that, you know, a lot more teams have a lot more exposure now in our this time in age. I'm very much a Brewer fan and stuff, you know. So
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think their team's really fun to watch. Got to go to a game last summer, kind of in that pocket of time when everything seemed a little bit more stable.
Sure.
I'll just keep it at that.
Yeah.
You know, who knows what it means anymore. I'll keep it at that as well. But, you know, it was around my birthday last June, and we went with the family. And the Brewers, it was an amazing game because they were losing 8-0 after the first inning.
Ooh.
And they came back and won.
Wow.
15-8.
So 15-8? So they just shut them out?
Yeah, the rest of the game, they brought in this new pitcher that was throwing 99, but he just, you know, didn't have the experience, and
sure,
he got, you know, taken out. I think it was against the Cubs. Now that I think about it, yeah.
Okay.
And
that must have been nuts.
It was great. It was a great game, and you know, everyone was down after the first inning, thinking, okay, how do we come back from this? And, you know, that's the beauty of this Brewers team. They have such power. So
yeah,
I was really quite fascinated by the resilience, and although I was a fan, I think I even became more of a fan, just seeing that game, in person and realizing that this team, that's the kind of stuff you need to have if you're going to be a champion. You gotta have fortitude,
For sure. And that's the cool thing, last year was really the year where everyone was starting to get back into watching and experiencing things in person again,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there were some things that had to be done or people thought would be, safer for people to be able to do that. But, but yeah, it seems like things are trending in the right direction and things are getting better. And hopefully this summer will be the most normal one that we've had in, 2 years.
Yeah. And I can't imagine it won't have, I know personally speaking, it'll be, the gratitude for all that will be 3 times, 4 times, 10 times as strong as it was, in 2019.
Yep.
I've always been a pretty gratitude-y guy. But
that's good, man.
Yeah, it's important, but I can't imagine everyone gets an upgrade.
Yeah.
It's just, we've all been through that.
Mm-hmm.
Need I say more, right? Yeah.
So when you went to that Cubs game, I know I've been to a Cubs game before at, what is it now, American Family Field. It'll always be Miller Park to me.
Yeah, I hear you. I was shocked when I went there. I was like, what?
Yeah. But, yeah, it was pretty wild, though, whenever, like, Cubs fans are there. Because
it's like Packer-Bear games.
Yeah, they get super loud. And it seems like it's a home game for the Cubs at times.
Yes, which makes it a little surreal, but I understand it.
Yeah.
It's close
That's
enough.
fun, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not many people may have the opportunity to get into Wrigley Field. So, Milwaukee from Chicago, if you take the Amtrak especially, makes it super easy.
That's a great point. I have never been to Wrigley, and it's on my bucket list for sure.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it will occur sometime in the next 10 years. I think I'm getting ready to do something of that nature. So,
yeah, nice.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember when they did, like, the 7th inning stretch, when they sang, Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Mm-hmm.
And then, root for the home team.
Yeah, roll out the barrel. Isn't that when they do that?
They do that too.
Yeah.
But, the Cubs fans, they oh my God, I've never heard it so loud in there before.
At Wrigley?
Yeah, no, at
Miller Park.
Yeah, Miller Park.
Yeah.
Miller Park.
Right. We're gonna just keep it at that.
Like root for and then you hear the whole all the Cubs fans going Cubbies, and you're like, what? Where are we? Are we in Chicago or Milwaukee?
Yeah, it's very surreal. I think now that you bring that up, I think that did occur at the game I was at this last summer, and
it's probably like that wherever Chicago fans travel. I think they travel well.
Yeah, and they have
they all have WGN wherever they live.
I think by WGN. They all have a. I was talking to someone recently. They were telling me how they. Just Chicago folks, just a little bit more like, hey, here I am,
Yeah.
And maybe that's a generalization, sure, but I do have noticed that myself, and I mean that respectfully, I've always believed that it's actually a good quality to have, to be just like straightforward with people,
Yeah.
as long as you're respectful, and
that's the key.
Yes.
Respectful.
Kindness is the key for sure.
Yeah.
And that and the gratitude thing, I think, are quite a combo. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, what a mess. I haven't really been following too much of the MLB, but it sounds like they're not anywhere near to coming up to any kind of agreement to even get, preseason started and stuff, spring training.
Yeah. I was talking to my father, who, as I mentioned earlier, we've had a history with baseball, and he's a very old school. He grew up in New York, and
nice.
Loved the Brooklyn Dodgers, and still to this day. He actually disowned the Dodgers, though, when they moved to Los Angeles, even though, it's been quite a while, Dad. But no, he's not he hates the Yankees. Maybe hate's a strong word, but, it's that old classic.
Oh, sure.
But anywho, he's always a good person to talk ball with. But we were talking about the potential lockout, and he was just banging his head against the wall. I was like,
yeah,
because he's really been loving the Brewers too, and
yeah,
we all kind of we need sports. You know what I mean? And it's a big part of what keeps people, I think, many people in the communities around the area and around the country, feeling a little bit of that extra hope and optimism, about their life. And, given the circumstances we're all in, I think it's important to have that. And boy, it would be a real bummer to see that whole, like, layer of the sports world go away.
Yeah. We need those dollar hot dogs up at Timber Rattler Stadium.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, random. While we're still talking about baseball and Timber Rattlers, I just saw a video that someone shared. I don't know if it's Frank. What's up, Frank? But he posted a video where Ken Griffey Jr., A-Rod, and then some kid named Ortiz.
Oh, yeah.
They were at, I think, Fox City Stadium, like doing a impromptu like a home run derby.
This is recently?
No, this is way back when.
Okay.
I think it would make sense that the Timber Rattlers was still a Mariner farm team.
Yep.
So I didn't know that Ortiz was there, but they showed him swinging and nailing the balls out of the park and stuff, and then you could hear A-Rod saying, "I have no shot, against this guy."
That's hilarious. Well, I have a fun story here regarding A-Rod. I mean, like I said, I grew up in Appleton.
Yeah.
And so when he was coming up with the Mariners Farm Club, it was very brief. He got drafted number 1. Right. Everyone knew he was going to be a stud, but he did need a couple, months to just tune his game up. And they brought him to it was at the Appleton Foxes at the time, before it was the Timber Rattlers. And
right on, yeah.
They played at Goodland Field over kind of closer in off the highway in Appleton, over where Miller Electric is now, and actually where the Appleton West Terrors, the high school there, play their games. They built it into a complex, but it used to be a big, an old school 1920s, just a big hunk of concrete bleacher thing, and we used to like sneak in the side, to get into games.
Awesome,
like the fence, we just climbed the fence.
Yeah.
But whatever. We had a good time. We were kids, and it was just old school ball and everything. But yeah, A-Rod came to town for about 2 months, and I had a friend who was a ball boy at the time, so he would always get balls signed by him, and he would give me those, occasionally, and I'd ask for him or something. But the thing was, the way the stadium was designed, they had to walk. I mean, literally, like you're done with like a Little League game or something. You'd walk out of the Cyclone fence, and you'd totally exposed to the fans, and then you'd had to walk all the way around to the locker room behind this big concrete thing. And there was no gates, on each side of them or anything, so everyone would just hoard them. Yeah. So everyone would wait at the fence after, and then I started doing that for maybe a month in the summer. I was about 13 or 14. And yeah, he'd get done and he'd come out and he'd sign autographs for everyone. And
that's cool.
I have about 10 or 11 of them.
Really?
Yeah. And there was this one hat that I had he signed. It was just a random hat. And it's funny, my father was mowing the lawn about 10 years later. He like took the hat off. He's like, "Oh, I have Alex Rodriguez's autograph on my lawnmower hat." We kind of was like, so abundant around the house, his autograph, that we forgot the value of it.
Sure.
But yeah, that was a great time.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. Before he was famous, really, and he'd give my friend a ride home. He had a decent car already. I mean, he signed this contract, but yeah,
signing bonus.
My friend, he'd be like, "We'll see you at school tomorrow." I'm like, "What? You're riding home with Alex Rodriguez in the car? That's amazing." Yeah. Can I do that? Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, just those funny things that you don't think that's going to occur, but it does.
Yeah, I just think that's one cool thing about fans in Wisconsin, and even just like the athletes and stuff that live here. Like jumping sports here, like with basketball, when Giannis was a rookie in Milwaukee, like he didn't have a car yet. I don't know how far away he lived, from to Bradley Center at that time. Yeah, but there was some fans or someone that was driving that recognized him as he was running, and they're like, "Is that Giannis?"
Right.
And like, "Hey, do you need a ride?"
What's happening?
So you're like, "Yeah, come in the car," and he didn't have a jacket on because I don't think he knew any better,
Yeah, he's just, I remember those days.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore, but yeah.
But yeah, he said, hop on in, and they took him to Bradley Center, and then off he went to go play.
Give him a fist bump, have a good game, kind of
right?
thing.
Yeah.
What a story they get to share, huh?
Yeah, no kidding.
It's amazing.
I wonder if you fit in the back seat or not.
Yeah, right? That's the thing, like those athletes. I remember once I went to the Fox River Mall, and they had a Shaquille O'Neal shoe size.
Oh, yeah.
At the shoe store.
It's probably bigger than this table.
It was. I mean, it was about 1.5 feet big.
Yeah.
And you know, like this tall, I'm looking at him going, and I was still, you know, I was probably 16 or something. I was fairly full grown at that point, I guess, but still, I'm like, what is that? That thing has its own zip code,
Right?
you know?
Like, is that real?
How does he live his life?
Yeah.
It does make you think, like,
That's not just for display. It goes on someone's actual foot.
and I say that respectfully. I mean, but
Yeah.
it's like there's you know, it must be a challenge at times. Like even you know, like making sure if you're living in a house, your door frame's got to be
Oh yeah.
cut differently, and you know, your car's probably specially designed. I mean, granted, he has the money and the prestige to do that, but
Yeah.
man, it's like a supersized life that way, you know.
Yao Ming had that problem too. Like whenever
Oh, yeah,
they
yeah.
would travel and go to, you know, hotels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think they'd have to call ahead of time to make sure that there was an extra mattress on the foot of the bed, so he can actually like.
So he didn't have
Lay
sore
down.
shins from painting
Yeah.
over the bed. I've been there.
For those of you who don't know Yao Ming, he's 7'6".
Yeah, he played for the Rockets for a while. Right?
Yeah.
Most of his career, all of his career.
I think all of his career. I don't think he played for any other NBA team.
Yeah, yeah.
But he played, you know, over in China and for the national team for forever.
Yeah, he was
you
really
know?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him dueling it out even with Shaq, right? I think he
Yeah.
played around Shaq's time, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They had a fun little story. I think I don't know if it was at Shaq's Hall of Fame, like introductory speech or whatever. But, you know, he said, because Yao Ming was in attendance and, you know, they were playing and stuff like that. And, you know, Shaq's usually a big trash talker. But,
Sure.
you know, because he thought that there was a language barrier with him, so he never really talked trash or anything like that. And then I don't remember word for word, but it was something along the lines of like Yao Ming, you know, said, "Nice move," and then Shaq's like, "What? Like, you speak English?" You know,
So at that Seinfeld episode, you know, George Costanza goes to the nail place and he's trying to figure out what these ladies are saying because he thinks they're making fun of him and they're talking a different language.
oh yeah, yeah,
His dad ends up, you know, helping him out because he knows the language and he pretends he's there listening like he doesn't know the language. And then at the end, he calls out the ladies.
Yeah.
He's like, I know. And it ends up being that he dated one of them anyway. Anyway, point is that the same
Yeah.
time. Yeah, like, you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, wait, what? You knew what we were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
fun man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, we're deep in the episode already.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could talk for days,
Yeah,
man.
no, this is fun, man.
I'm good at it.
Yeah. Let's talk about your career and your painting and like how you know came to doing that, you know, for a living.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I came here about 22 years ago and went to school and graduated in 2005. And I know I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I want to work for myself and be in control. My father always, you know, and my mother, they always told me to get control of your life. And, you know, I thought, oh, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And there's many ways to do that, but I think for me, I've always been very interested in creating things, you know.
Yeah.
And I know it's, in some cases, there's always roadblocks with everything we choose, right? I mean, there's ups and downs to it. But I've always been very adamant about wanting to do creative something, you know, and
Yeah.
and work for myself. So I keep it simple, you know, but it's kind of spawned my career, really, is just those two simple things, you know, wanting to be in control and be a creator. And then, you know, I added some other things along the way. Like I realized the importance of enriching the community, trying to to give people hope and joy through art, I think is something I realize is really kind of at the heart of it.
Yeah.
You know, even if whether it's teaching or it's mural work or it's commission work or it's just having an art show and inspiring people.
Yeah.
You know, I see people light up in many cases in those contexts, and I think, man, you know, there's so much crazy in the world. You know, we all know what's going on, you know, overseas right now, and in many cases, there's just all the things we've gone through. The world has got so much of that. I didn't want to contribute to that in any way in terms of what I emit to the world. I want to be, you know, as friendly as I can and uplifting as I can, and since art was something that came naturally to me as a child, I always would sit in my room and just draw and draw and draw, and hours would melt away, and it's just always been very comforting to me. I enjoy being alone, you know, so that was another thing, is like having an art studio was never like a weird thing for me.
Yeah.
It's very comforting. So, but I love talking, as I've been saying, we're just saying, time's melting away here, I have no problem with that. So I have that kind of hybrid spirit. I like to be in solitude, but I enjoy chatting with those folks that I connect with. And
Yeah, you got a good balance going on.
yeah, and then I think that suits me well with being an entrepreneur and having the ability to focus on planning and the hard work that it does require. There is no one telling me what to do, but that means I have to be my own boss.
Yeah, and that can be a challenge at times, right?
Yes, very much.
Yeah, it's a blessing, both a blessing and a curse.
Yes,
Can be.
yes, and I've matured a lot over the years. I think I used to let perception get to me more because it can be tough as an artist in particular. I think many people are supportive, don't get me wrong, and I think a lot of people are fascinated by what I do. There's also folks that maybe question it and not sure, or they think, how can that be a living or whatever? It's difficult, I'm not going to lie. It is difficult, but it's worth it. I make it worth it. I figure it out, it's that's part of the journey of it.
For sure.
There are challenges, there are ups and downs, but so be it. That's life,
Yep.
But I get to see people's faces light up when they take a painting with them, or have my work in their establishments. Thank you again, by the way.
Yeah, definitely.
And I whether it's like I said, teaching people to find things about their life that makes them happy with art, it just makes me feel very fulfilled.
Yeah.
So that's why I continue to do it all these years later.
That's awesome, man. So, like, when was it, like, when you grew up, as you were growing up, like, did you kind of hit the light switch and be like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to focus on. This is my passion. This is what I want to do with my life.
Well, I don't know that I can say it was a conscious moment when I was younger. I think it was just like, I look back on it, I guess I would have to admit that it was like subconsciously there was all the right moves were being made. And
Yeah, because, you were involved in a
it.
lot of things, especially with baseball, getting a scholarship to play there.
Yep.
Right.
And I think that's a good point because sports helped me understand perseverance and staying on the path, learning to fail and be okay with that, learning to lose and be okay with that, knowing that there's another day, another game, another fight, however you want to say it. I think that really helped me persevere and overcome things that maybe if I hadn't played sports, I wouldn't be as thick-skinned about being an entrepreneur as I am. So that's important. But yeah, as a kid, I just loved drawing, and even as a teenager, I remember telling myself that I wanted to just keep doing it, but I didn't know that this would be my career. And it wasn't until I got towards the end of my college career when I was like, I suppose I had to start thinking about, what was going to happen to me or something. And we all go through that conundrum, those of us that are in the university system, and you get done with school, or you're at the last semester and you're going, oh, I'm okay. And in your head you're going,
Yep.
But, and I had the professors, like I said earlier, breathing down my neck about going to get a master's, and they're like, you have all the right tools. You can talk, you're very talented, and you have all the right things to be a professor. You just need maybe a little bit more time to mature, but, go to grad school, get a degree. And I'm going, you sound like you know me real well, and you know my life real well. I said that to them just like that, and they're like, geez, man. I'm like, hey, look, I got my own gig. I'm out. See you later.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know what? This kid's he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of edge to him,
Yeah.
And I was a little bit edgy when I was in my 20s. I've mellowed out a little bit.
We all were.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess it was around then, I guess, to answer your question, that I realized, well, here we go.
There we go. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I guess everything's the same. Whether it's marriage or kids, it's like there's never a right time. You just go, well, let's do it.
Yeah.
You kind of put the cart before the horse and figure it out as you go.
Speaking of kids, like, I'm sure you can think back to when you first had your oldest. Mm-hmm. For dads, I think it might be a little bit different just because we're not experiencing, the connection, a direct connection with the kid because our kid was with their mother, And I think, you become ready, like, as soon as they're there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I remember the first time I heard my son cry, which was instantly as he's, being born. And I was telling somebody recently who they were expecting, and I could see that nervous look on his face. I think my daughter and I were frisbee golfing, and he had this look of just pure confusion and sort of angst. And I went, "Oh, when you two do again?" Like I knew instantly, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, I'll keep his, the name, obviously, be kind and not say who it was, but nonetheless, they were, he was. I said to him, "Look, you've probably heard babies cry your whole life, and whether you liked it or not, probably was a little more annoying. When you hear your son or daughter crying for the first time, it'll change your life.
Yeah.
It'll be nothing like it, and it just, I'll never forget that." And one of the nurses took a photo of me right as I first saw my son.
Oh, cool.
And it's the greatest image of my life.
Nice.
I'm like this, but nonetheless, it's very powerful stuff because it was literally the second I became a dad as a visual artist too. As the first time I saw my son.
Yeah.
And it was captured on a photo.
That's awesome, man.
Amazing.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I mean, who's to say that you can't still become a professor down the road, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, for me right now though, it's tough because the master's programs. They don't have one at the university here. They have one in Madison, but
are those like some of the requirements that you have to have a master's in order to become at least here or something?
In general, with teaching art, you have to have a master's, and also it's an interesting gig. I mean, because a lot of our professors do stick around for quite some time, so that you don't have too many openings.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, for instance, around here that those positions have been filled and probably will be filled for quite some time, and that's great. I really love Trina over at the university. She's a painting professor there, and she's good for the university, and I just really enjoy her work and her friendship and stuff. So. But I guess my point is that I would have to move.
Okay.
Probably far away.
Sure.
Because there's just the opportunity, you look at a list of maybe 4 places, and it's not to say that I couldn't do that, but my life isn't set up like that right now.
Yeah.
So to your point, probably down the road if it could happen, yeah.
Do you offer lessons to people? Or, if someone were to be like, "Hey, I think my kid's got something, going on," like, is that a thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be teaching tomorrow at the Museum of Wisconsin Art.
Okay.
So I do these I call it a la carte teaching. I do work at the Trout as well.
Nice.
And I do work with kids, usually between, 7, 8, and 14, something like that.
Yeah.
Although this class tomorrow is an adult class, I think, from what I've been told, 18 and above. But yeah, that's kind of when I say I teach, that's kind of the way I'd like to do it for now, and I do enjoy it. I put a little lesson plan together, and I try to find. The goal is always to try to get people to open up and see the beauty within themselves. You know? And that I think the beauty of teaching a la carte too is I don't have, and I say this respectfully, but I don't have a curriculum I have to follow from the system, right? So they kind of goes more in parallel with the way I like to do things. I kind of like to, put my collar up and just, all right, I'm here. I'm going to teach.
Yep.
So I think you can get more out of people that way because you can be a little more abstract and you can go off the path a little.
Yeah. How about? See, I think we grew up in a time where we had some pretty darn great animation. Drawing pictures, like motion pictures like that, right?
Yeah.
Was there one that really stood out to you that you were particularly drawn to? Trying to think back to myself, there's so many cool ones.
I think that just before Pixar started, doing the computer version, they really nailed it with Aladdin and Lion King.
Yeah,
those animations were, I think, masterpieces. And I mean, again, I know folks have gotten a little. The Aladdin one got a little bit of flack, with more from the storyboard. I will just keep it at that. But that's not what I'm going with this. I think from an art standpoint, I just thought that the way they addressed light and the animations, the drawings, the movement, it was just wonderful. And the way, the imagination of the genie and all the things that he did creates this incredible opportunity for the artist to create these abstract things, this big blue genie just hovering over a cave, and all of a sudden he's shooting all sorts of magic out of his fingertips, and they had to draw all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that to me is just a fascinating endeavor to be a part of.
Frame by frame.
Frame by frame, and it's maybe this is a good opportunity to mention. I mean, my kids and I, we do these animation stop motion Lego films.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing them over the years. I mean, we put the Legos away recently, it was time for now. But and over the last 5-6 years, and we do a frame by frame deal, and it's pretty fun. I would write a script, and we have characters, and we build the sets, and we have the camera set up, and we move them, and we have lights. We make sure the lighting's good, and I use a professional editing program, and we use good microphones to do the voiceovers. We take it kind of serious, and
nice.
Trying to teach them, how that works, and
yeah.
So anyway,
you have a YouTube link or anything like that? Or where's it posted?
I think.
Or is it just on your personal page?
I started. I don't know if it's even. I don't know. I think it's still accessible, but on YouTube, I was Lego melodramas.
Okay.
Because we try to, really pump the melodrama into the plastic figures and make them come to life. We did one on the New Moon Cafe actually, and when Cranky Pats was around, we did a 3-episode series called Lego Cranky Pats. So it was kind of fun to take local businesses and have little spin-offs or comedy.
Sure. Well, when you're ready to bust them out, you should do one here at Manila.
Okay, that would be fun. Yeah, yeah, and they're tasteful and everything. They have some humor in them, but the melodrama comes into just sort of the fact that the human nature. Humans being human. The fun things we kind of witness. Maybe we don't say them out loud. We're like, huh, why does that guy always do that, or that gal always do that? I don't know. Let's put it in the movie.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. I'm glad that you brought up the whole light thing, when it comes to really anything creative, right? Just being able to nail that, aspect of any kind of painting or picture, photography, video, drawing. That's so important, right?
Very. I love the sun. I'll just start there. I mean, it's such an important, obviously for all the health reasons and keeping us alive and all that. But yeah, lighting is huge. And even here, you got your light set up, and it's important. I mean, natural light is great, but you have to really overemphasize light in certain ways. As a painter, I always start with that. I mean, no matter what I'm doing, even if it's abstract, I want to know where the light source is. I want to know where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the nucleus of the idea. Is you can have a great idea, but if it's not lit right, something's not there.
Yeah. Not to mention correct me if I'm wrong, but it adds depth to the picture then too, right?
Yes, and drama and mystery.
Yeah.
There's something about contrast, and you see a nice. This side of the face is lit wonderfully, but then on this side you just see all those dark shadows and stuff, and it's like, ooh,
Yeah.
It just adds more and more to the human experience. I think people are naturally they naturally react more. They have more of a reaction to
a connection.
A connection to the yin and yang thing, right? I love the yin and yang because you have the dark, the light. There's a little bit of light in the dark and a little bit of dark in the light. I just think that's kind of the perfect metaphor for light. Even I mean a lot of things, but light in particular, because you might think you're drawn to the light, but you drift off into those dark corners of a painting too. What's going on in the? I love the face. It's literally, ooh, what's down there? And then you go back to the light, and then you go, what's down there? And then you back to, and it's interesting when you really start unpacking how you experience a picture. That's basically one of my favorite things to do, is figure out what are people doing when they look at a painting?
Yeah.
And as a painter, I have to compete with all these moving pictures and TVs and flat screens, and so my goal is to make their eyes go nuts. Yeah. Move around a picture, So to do that, light is a big part of that.
We went to the Van Gogh exhibit down in Milwaukee,
Awesome.
and that was crazy.
Yeah,
I loved it.
me too.
Right from the very beginning too, when you walked in and kind of read up on and got yourself familiar with his history and background, and then when you turn the corner and walk into that huge room,
Yeah.
that was crazy. That was so cool.
I know. I wanted to stay again for another round. They're like, no, you got to leave. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Can I just stay? They're
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's a big room. They're like, no. I'm like, that was the only thing they didn't know who they were dealing with. I was like,
Yeah.
I could stay here all day. You know?
Yeah.
So, anywho, but no, it was wonderful. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
And
The music and
Yeah.
just everything was perfectly, on this projected, like
yeah. And the way
around you, like completely around you, right?
Yes. And the way that they the way they sort of approached it too, like putting certain paintings together, and obviously the bigger scale and the way it moved a little bit and the way they were paralleling certain things. It really gave you a different perspective on something that obviously we all know very well. Van Gogh's work's kind of just standard in our brains now because of how it's been presented over the years. So yeah, it was awesome.
So if any of you have the opportunity to go see this exhibit, if it comes to your town, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
Check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think, I think it was in, Milwaukee for a while, right? Through
That's where I saw
January or
it.
something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought I saw it in Minnesota, but I
think that's
I'm wondering
true.
if they have more than a couple installations of that. Or do you think it's just one?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would imagine they probably have more than one. Just it's worth it. They'll make them. I mean,
Right?
just from a capitalist perspective, they'll probably make good money doing it. But but I think it's also important because some people can't get up to the Midwest and vice versa. So yeah, I would imagine they probably have more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who are some other like classical? Would you call them classical painters, or like how would you like distinguish like painters from like that era? And such.
They were considered modern or post-impressionist, impressionism.
That's right.
that era.
Yeah.
I do love that era. I mean, there's so many. I could go.
Right?
Through, I don't really have favorite. I mean, anything from Goya and Rembrandt, to all the impressionists, really Cezanne. I love Matisse. I just love them all.
Yeah.
Frida Kahlo, excuse me. Is it Carla? I can't say her name. She's great too.
There's so many.
I'm like a sponge. I find all those things fascinating, and I continue to just want to expand and learn. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's crazy even just talking about it right now, right? You're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it just keeps like, ooh. I'm probably gonna go home and start looking at my history book again. I love going to museums, art museums, because it's kind of, there you go, right? It's all everything that just happened to me here, and just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Only I get to actually see it.
For sure.
It's kind of like Christmas for me.
Awesome.
My eyes. I literally. I don't know how to say this any better, so it's gonna sound kind of strange, but like just looking at things is an aphrodisiac for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll just stare at a shadow and be like, wow. I mean, people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh man, you have no idea.
Taking it in.
It's so much fun. They're like, okay, off I go, but I really do enjoy it. I mean, I'm looking at that shadow over there. I'm like, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
So anyway, like going to a museum couldn't be more of a, it's the professional version of that, major leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Awesome. Is there any one particular gallery that you'd like to, anywhere in the world that you would love to go see?
Well, the big dogs, of course, the Louvre, the Prado in Spain. I love the Metropolitan in New York.
Mm-hmm. You've been to that one?
I've been there so many times.
Yeah.
I'd sleep there if they let me. Really, I would.
I'm sure you can't stay over here overnight.
Yeah, come on. Don't you have
starting to see a trend here, Leif?
Yeah, I know, right? Oh well, I'll admit it. The Art Institute of Chicago is great. I love that place. I go there a lot. the Milwaukee Art Museum's great.
Yeah.
St. Louis Art Museum's great. There's a whole handful in California. A few in San Francisco I've been to that I love. Minnesota, I have to get over there and see they have a really nice museum there that I haven't been to yet. That's on my bucket list to do soon.
Yeah.
So, but European, I want to get over there in general, like very much. Like, it's got to happen sooner than later. But with the world being the way it's been, it's put a little bit of a kibosh on that. But I'm gonna think positively.
Yeah.
The Louvre would be. The Louvre is such an interesting story. If anyone wants to know more about it, just go on and look up, the history of the Louvre. It's just so fascinating because it was every time a new king would come into power, they would build a new wing onto it, and it was just this became kind of like a status thing for each king. Like, well, I'll build an even bigger wing. Watch this, and everyone was like, okay, we're all benefiting. We have a much more beautiful place to go see art. So, but you can't go there and see that place even in a week.
Sure,
that's that big.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of every artist's dream really to go there and really spend a good month walking through it. I can't imagine it wouldn't be.
So a place like that, they just have like permanent pieces that stay there forever, or do they have like exhibits too where things are on rotation and stuff from people from around the world and stuff?
I think that's probably true. I haven't actually looked into that, but I can't imagine they don't.
Okay.
But you're talking Mona Lisa, all that type. Some of the more famous.
That's where it's housed.
Yeah.
There? Okay.
Yeah. I've heard that it's there, but you can't see it because there's so many people around it all the time. You don't really get a chance to.
What's your take on the Mona Lisa?
I think it's an interesting painting. I've studied the story of it. It took him like 26 years. He made it slowly.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know the backstory about that.
That's about all I got right now.
Okay.
I don't want to say too much. But no, it was a slow go of it, and I can't recall now if this was an actual person he knew or how it went exactly. But it's interesting how a painting will just gravitate into the high status fame. Because when you study art history, I do find it odd. It's like there is nothing about it. If you really look at all the other paintings that have mystery in them and technical skill and things that really would warrant it to be that much more above them in terms of its fame. But people choose the things they choose and then say that's the one.
Yeah, like how did Mona Lisa get to that point?
Yeah, I think it just becomes like a strange human folklore thing. Like, well, that's the one, and did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Did you? And here we are.
Yeah. Well, it's all the journey and the path of its creation, right?
Yeah. It's post-creation story. No artist really can say they know where it's going to go once you're done. I never like finishing paintings in terms of like when I'm done, I'm like, well, that was fun. Mm-hmm. Next. It's really not like that euphoric to look at it after you're done in terms of like, oh, wow, I'm just going to sit here and stare at it. It's really the journey.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's pretty cool to be like, wait, what? It's over there and that many people look at it every day. And, if these artists could come back to life, they would be floored. Van Gogh, my God.
Yeah.
He would be like, I don't know what he'd do.
Right.
Really, I think they made a movie about that where he came back to life and he got to see that his life had become this. And
that'd be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but I'm sure you could dig around on the internet and find it. But yeah, it is tragic in a way, but it's also like, it's ironic, but it's also, I don't know that it would change much. Because it's still really about the creating of it.
Yeah.
It might be vain of an artist to be like, that's right, I made that, and be all like, but really it never changes for me. I consider myself a worker. Mm-hmm. I stand, by a wall, and I labor away, and I don't think much more about it.
Yeah.
And then I'm done, and I move on, and I labor again, and
then
I teach, and then I go paint on a wall or outside in the
Yeah.
cold or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah. Let's talk about art in Oshkosh.
Yeah.
It's obviously taken a good turn. Lots of cool things that are starting to happen and everything that we haven't been able to do in such a forever.
Yeah.
And you were like one of the first ones to really crack that, with the nice Oshkosh mural that you did on the side of across the street from our neighbors here at New Moon, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been very adamant for about 15 years of trying to get public art more indoctrinated into the community. And when I say indoctrinated, I mean more, not just the city accepting it more, which they have, and I'm glad.
Yeah.
But, once it's accepted and then it's presented, I think the community bottom lines it. It becomes familiar.
Yeah.
It's important, I think familiarity is important in this. And so when you're not familiar, you can be more skeptical of things. And that was something I tried to make clear to the city. And I'm glad that, there was plenty of folks, by the way, that contributed and made this happen. So
yeah.
just, pointing out the few things maybe I was able to vocalize and get through to them. And I mean that respectfully, but
yeah,
a lot of great people made it happen. And I'm just really glad that I got a chance to do that mural and make a difference.
Yeah.
For the public art scene.
I forgot even before that, you had one up across the street on the Spar building, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. Over by across from the Grand Opera House.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the rules were a lot different back then because it had to be something you had to be able to remove, right?
That's right. It was adhesed to the wall, which, oh boy, what a story! And I won't get into it, but it
that could be a whole nother episode.
Yeah, it could. We'll just keep it at this. It's not there anymore, but there is another one there, and I'm glad there is. And the gentleman that I worked with, he was able to put that new one up, and I'm glad he worked with the high school, and he has a great community energy about wanting to do public art as well. And that's the thing, public art in a community should be a group effort. There should be many artists and many people involved.
Yeah.
It's an eclectic thing, and I've made that clear as well. I mean, there was a lot of folks after I finished the one across the street here were like, "Wow, you're going to do more?" I was like, I don't know. If anything, I might want to promote, the idea of the arts and public art, but it'd be nice to see, in 15 years, a whole handful or more of artists from all over.
Yeah.
And so I know Emma Daisy did the one over there down the street, on Main Street there, and it's great. And I went over and met her and thanked her and said, hey, this is great. Because that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
It's an eclectic thing like all communities are, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's some pop-up art stuff now that's been on the walls for, 2-3 years now. Art City Raps are doing some really cool things around town with that.
Yeah, I love Josh. Yeah.
I
went to school with Josh, and he's always been a go-getter and an entrepreneur spirit himself. And I'm really happy for him that he's been able to find his way in the community with his style and his business, and I think it's a great. Although I do want to see painted murals as well. I think, given we have a lot of historic brick in the city, I think it's a really great compliment to have how he does the wraps. You know what I mean? So all the merrier.
Yep. We have Ferry Lane now.
Yeah.
That, it used to be just a whatever kind of alley. And now it's got lights and a fairy theme type of thing going on. You guys got to check that out too.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of the seasonal stuff for Christmas, those were fun. There's that Meet Me Under the Mistletoe one that was just on, I think, that's Brown Street?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or what is it?
No, Market Street.
Market Street,
yeah,
sorry.
Right on the corner. Yeah.
Yep.
I took a photo of that, and, I cracked some joke and respectful, but to myself, like I was looking up or something, and that a bird was ready to. Yeah. Anyway, drop its business on me, and I love stuff like that, and I'm glad that Josh has been able to help.
For sure.
Like I said, add up just more visual awesome to the city, and then seasonal stuff too. Like you said, that's the versatility of that, is that it can come down and go back up. So.
Then we have the utility boxes are wrapped.
Yep.
With some nice historical pieces, and then Jesse from the bid said that they're going to add some QR codes to it too. So
that's nice.
Yeah, so you just walk up with your phone, scan the QR code, and then it'll show tell you a little bit about the history about that particular thing that's on the wrap. So
That's a great idea.
right.
Yeah, very much.
What else do we have here? Oh, we have the lake flies, kind of displayed throughout along the river walk for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Those are nice and colorful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's I don't know how many of them, 15 or something, and that and the mini murals, and even with the few murals we have that are painted as well. Either way, there's a whole, there's a culture. You can basically walk around and make a go of it, make a day of it. Visit a nice place like Manila and have some food. Yeah. Have some coffee at the New Moon Cafe, and shameless plugs, and anyway, and enjoy the community, and I think that's, I guess my point is the art can be a glue like that. There's plenty of places along the way, but sometimes getting folks to be like, hey, I want to walk around and do those things, and it's not for everybody, but the art can be kind of like a nice, like a shoelace. Tie it all together.
Definitely
give people a way to kind of go around and, hey, let's go over here, let's look for that one and this one.
Then we have Chalk Walk.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually when? August?
Yes,
sometime
early August.
Yeah. And then First Fridays is a relatively new thing. It's been around for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of hoping that downtown is using that just as a point to, I don't necessarily think to replace, Art Walk, but just to kind of create another night, for people to just enjoy themselves and come down and give artists an opportunity to display their work and stuff. Like, you are our featured artist for the month of February here. Yeah. You got some cool stuff here. You guys got to swing by and check it out. Mm-hmm. And then you've done some work for us too. Like, right behind us, we have, the map of the Philippines, then map of, Metro Manila and stuff. And actually, when we first opened up, we had reached out to you and asked you to do a nice painting of our building.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can have something hanging up above the fireplace up at Algoma Club.
Yeah.
That's such a neat painting, man.
I had a great time doing that, and I have an interest in painting architecture because I wanted to be an architect, but math wasn't for me, so I figured I'd just paint them instead.
There you go.
So that's what I did.
Still making buildings.
I am, yeah. I just did it my way as usual. So
that was a nice tall painting too. Like how tall was that? Or
5 feet.
That was 5 feet?
5 by 4 feet, yeah.
Oh, I'm barely just taller than it, so.
Yeah. I painted that big so much now. It's not as big as it used to be, but yet it is. I mean, when I hear you say it, I'm like, oh, yeah, it is.
Well, it's crazy because when you see it hung up in, like, spaces like this, right? Like, you don't put two and two together unless you take it down and you're standing right next to it.
Right, yeah. It's like a mountain range, right? You see it from far, and you're like, well, I could scale that, and then you're driving up to it, and you're going, never mind.
Yeah,
that thing's huge. Yeah.
So,
distance.
What are some services and stuff that you are able to offer to people if someone like wanted to reach out to you for something?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, my website, leiflarson.com, you can go there and check out my art, my more avant-garde stuff, and, certainly get in contact with me if you want commission work done or anything like that, or if you want me to be a part of a live painting event or teaching. But also, if you go to Wedding Painting by Leif, I started a wedding painting business. I go to weddings and I paint receptions and ceremonies, which has gone over very well. I'm already booked for the spring, summer, and fall.
Oh, wow, man.
And I'm booking into next year already, so I'm very excited about that. It's been going over very well. So, yeah, go to weddingpaintingsbyleif.com. That has all the information you'll want and need there. And if you would like me to come and paint your wedding or your friends or your daughter or son's wedding, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a cool, and I remember when we used to do fundraising upstairs for, oh man, I can't remember the name of it, but it was the one that was, that Justin helped out with.
Yep. And I would paint live there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like a different, would you say it's a different animal, or it's just kind of just a different setting and a little bit more like on your feet type of thing?
The live painting in general?
Yeah.
Whether it's the weddings or it's like, a fundraiser, like you were saying, it is a different animal because it's you're trying to capture a lot of complicated things that are moving all the time. and try to figure out how to quantify that into one image that personifies it.
Yeah.
And you got to be quick on your feet. It's a dance. It's a tango. But man, it's thrilling. It's like, I always say, it's kind of like what I imagine a surfer would feel in that moment when you're on top of the wave and you're kind of enjoying it, but you know you can't fully commit to the enjoyment or you'll fall off.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I can only imagine. But then at the same time, you're sort of focusing on it too. So it's like equal parts determination and focus, and then kind of like, yeah, you know?
Yep.
And there's just something about that that's just so thrilling. And even though I'm sure a surfer could be on a wave for a mere, 10 seconds, they go back.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about live painting.
Yeah.
They're my away games, if we want to use a sports term.
Sure, yeah.
The studio is my home base, home games. When I go out to do a live painting, it's my away game. So
Yeah. Right on, man.
yeah.
Do you have any other exhibits and stuff coming up where people can check out more of your work?
Yeah, I will be showing my work at the UW Fox in Menasha.
Okay.
I'm going to put it up on the 15th of March, and it should be up until early to mid-May.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the show is entitled Narratives Near Water, and it's going to be a show about just people doing random things by the water.
Okay.
Yeah, I just love watching and participating in just how people behave around water.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll keep it simple there, but yeah, it's going to be fun,
That's awesome, man.
including a giant painting of Menominee Park
Ooh.
from an aerial view
Okay.
overlooking Lake Winnebago. So things like that, just all sorts of fun. So
Yeah. So are you using an image then when you do that, or are you just using it from your head?
drone brain, I call
Okay.
it. I have
Okay.
a drone brain, yeah.
Yeah.
I just, I live near the park there, and so I walk there through it a lot.
Yeah.
And I always try to imagine what it would feel like and look like being above it.
Okay.
So it takes a little bit of time, but eventually my drone
Drone brain.
brain figures it out, and I just I go about doing it, and there it is, So that was one of those kind of grand attempts, because it's a 15-foot painting, because the park's pretty long and extensive, and it dawned on me that if I was standing back at a certain point going west, for anyone that doesn't know that, away from the lake, that I could position myself in a drone position so I could overlook the park,
Yeah.
and then at the same time then tilt the painting as you get to the back of it
Ooh.
to overlook the lake. So it actually kind of bends in perspective. You're
There you
getting
go.
more of a buffet of the park, and then as your eyes go to the top of the painting, you get to project back over Lake Winnebago like you would be if you were actually sitting on the shoreline looking across the lake.
Nice, man.
Yeah, so that's kind of like, I love stuff like that. And so this show, it'll be up mid-March, coming up here, and then it'll be up till mid-May. And the gallery is a beautiful place. It's near the planetarium there, across from the planetarium in Menasha, and it's a great place to go see art. So go check it out.
Nice. Well, I just want to say, man, thanks for being a part of the community and for all the work that you do, for a lot of us here. Like, it'd be hard to not walk into some of these spaces and not see something of yours, hung up, especially here downtown. We all love your work, man.
Thanks, Marlo, and same to you. I mean, this restaurant of yours it's just lovely, and it's not. I have a lot of friends who run restaurants, and it's not easy, man.
Yeah.
So you make it look really graceful and easy, and I think those that know you know that, and so thank you.
I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't let you go without asking you what your favorites are here at Manila.
Oh, that's.
You and I already know.
Yeah,
They don't know.
Yeah, for sure. The Manila rice bowl is. I hope I said that right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just see it and I go, oh. But yeah, it's just fantastic, and I love your the Manila roll too. I had that a few weeks ago. With has the eel in it, and it just
Yeah.
lovely. There's a texture in that, and I just really love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing it right here, man. I love the atmosphere. The service is great.
Appreciate
Again,
it.
thank you. I
Yeah.
mean, this is Oshkosh is a wonderful community, but it over the years, it hasn't necessarily always had some of the more interesting, diverse places, and to see it grow over the last 10, 15 years has been amazing. And so I'm saying that respectfully. I love this community very much, but it takes a lot of work and folks like yourself to be able to bring that kind of, that twist, if you will, right? And
for sure,
it's authentic. This is your culture. This is your life. This is who you are.
Yeah.
And it's great. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to do this again, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Uh-huh.
And we'll get you back, here as an artist and on the show.
Yeah.
We won't be strangers, that's for sure.
No, absolutely not. And thank you again for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any shout outs you want to throw out there to anybody that might be watching, listening?
Oh man, I'm bad at this. Like when everyone asks me what I want for Christmas, I never know.
Yeah.
I'll just shout out to anyone who to the whole community. How's that? How silly is that? Just so vague. No, I don't know. I don't have anyone to shout out to right now. I'm just gonna say thank you again. Yeah. I mean my kids.
There you go.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do it again.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Need a refill on the coffee here, right? So.
Yeah. I'm down to the bottom of the barrel.
So are we.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Barkada Podcast. Later.